Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time for the final mock draft from Mr. Mel Kiper. We've reacted to all three of them so far. He's got one more. I don't know why he's choosing to go ahead and tap out when we're still about a week and a half away from the NFL draft. But hey, that's his prerogative, not mine. I'm here to tell you who he has the Green Bay Packers selecting, not only in round 1, but round 2 as well. Before we get into that, let me give you a little bit of a rundown on who he's had Green Bay selecting in his 3 prior mock drafts in the first round. Number 1, he had Mike Green falling all the way down to number 23. Number 2, Azariah Thomas seemed like a little bit of a reach up. And then Emeka Egbuka was his most recent one, the wide receiver out of Ohio State. Of course, we talked all about Egbuka yesterday. Before I get into the pick, reveal who he's got, you guys need to do me a favor, okay? The last time we did a Mel Kiper mock, that only got 97 likes. Plain and simple, that's not good enough. I need 200 likes today. We're going to double it, more than double it. We got to prove we're getting better every single time because that's what we do right here at the Packers Report. If you're with me, do me a favor, hit that thumbs up button. So here we go, the final Mel Kiper mock draft in round 1. Pick number 23, he's got Mykel Williams, edge rusher out of the University of Georgia, a guy I've talked about a lot, a guy I've mocked to the Packers, not only just one time, but a couple over the last few months. Let's hear more about Mykel from Mel Kiper Jr. The Packers had 45 sacks last season, tied for 8th, but that's a little misleading. They were really good at converting pressure into sacks, but they got pressure only 29.8% of the time. Williams was hindered by an ankle injury in 2024, which kept him to 5 sacks over 12 games, but he has the explosive traits to be an extremely effective edge rusher. And I'm not going to lie to you guys, this selection seems likely to me. I just feel like the size of Mykel Williams mixed with the defense ran in Green Bay, it just seems like a really perfect match. I'm going to break down a little bit more about Mykel Williams in his grade just a little bit, but just let me know. Be honest. Do you like that pick? I usually ask you to grade it. We're going to do something different. Give me a yes or no in the comment section and be honest with me. All right, let's start with the scouting report. He's got a really great physical skill set. Think Trayvon Walker, okay? A guy who maybe hasn't had quite as great of a production, but he's got all the physical traits you could want. He was used as a mix on the interior and the exterior of the defensive line over this past season. His grade, in my opinion, is a late first round, early second round selection. Let's talk a little bit more about the player. He's a high-quality run stopper, incredibly powerful, which I think when you're talking about edge rushers, when you're talking about defensive linemen, a lot of times we can just look for a guy who goes to the quarterback, gets to the quarterback, but those guys often aren't great run stoppers. He is. His bull rush and long arm are very quality. Those are his 2 best pass rushing moves by far. And honestly, he wasn't used right this past year, in my opinion, at the University of Georgia. More of a 4-tech than edge rusher. He lined up on the inside of the tackle's shoulder, not on the outside more often than not. And so I think if he's a guy that you convert solely to outside edge rusher, he could do a lot of damage at this next level. Let's talk about the bad, alrighty, because he's got some things to work on. His pass rush production, just plain and simple, it was not there. He never really played a full season, always kind of was in and out of the lineups with injuries, different things. It was an ankle this past year. And even though that bull rush and that long arm is really good, he lacks pass rush moves. A lot of times he likes to just go and run straight into people. This selection, this player, a little bit of Lucas Van Ness to me. They're very similar sizes. I believe they play very similar styles of football. And now all you're hoping with Mykel Williams at the ripe age of 20 years old, let me remind you, you're just hoping that he might turn out a little bit differently because there's a spot for him on this defensive line. And when you look at the statistics, there's a spot for him to do some damage in this defense. Like Mel Kiper said, right? They're great at getting sacks. They're great at turning pressure into sacks, but they're not great at consistently pressuring the quarterback. Rashawn Gary led this team in pressures, just under 50. The second closest was Kingsley Enagbare with 26. That's not good enough, ladies and gentlemen. Not at all. And so that's kind of why I'd like to see Mykel in this defense, okay? I think he'd be a perfect fit. I think he's got an incredibly high ceiling. I think a lot of his traits are there. He just needs to be tightened up a little bit. He just needs to be polished a little bit. Again, he's only 20 freaking years old. He's got a lot of life left in him, hopefully a lot of life with this team. So coming up, I got Green Bay's second round selection. I want to talk about that. I want to break that one down. But before we do any of that, make sure that you guys subscribe for the best draft coverage you're going to find right here on YouTube. Okay, we do weekly mock drafts. We react to a ton of mock drafts as well, like we're doing right now. Breaking draft rumors, breaking draft news. We get it covered as quickly as we can. And then also deep analysis of all the top targets, just like we're doing on today's show. We got a huge database right here at Chat Sports, all at our disposal. So make sure, hit us up, lock us in, hit that subscribe button. Mykel Williams was the first round selection. Who do they go? Round 2, pick number 54, Jack Bech, wide receiver out of TCU. If you think you've seen this video before, I promise you haven't. This was a recent selection. It wasn't Mel Kiper's. It was Field Yates's, but I guess they agree. Both of them at least think that they know some ball. Let's hear from Mel Kiper on Jack Bech. He says Bech was great during Senior Bowl week, and he finished the 2024 season with 1,034 yards and 9 touchdowns. The Packers offense likes to distribute the ball to multiple pass catchers, with 3 wideouts seeing at least 70 targets. Bech would be another reliable playmaker in the mix. If I'm being honest, just like I was this past weekend, this is still a little bit high for me for Jack Bech. I think he's going to be a good player, but in my opinion, I kind of want to go for a guy in the second, maybe even first round, that has a chance to be the undisputed wide receiver 1 on this team and be that answer for a long time. I don't know if Bech is that guy. Now, there still is a lot to love about him. He's very mentally and physically tough. This dude's an absolute dog, was a converted tight end. 71.8% of his snaps are on the outside in 2024, and he was slot heavy when he was at LSU. He thrives in contested catches situations, 65%. This guy can go up and get the rock. He also forced 17 missed tackles this past year. So not only can he go up and get it, but he's dangerous with the ball in his hands after it. And for a guy his size, that's incredibly impressive. He's not an elite separator. I think that's part of the why that he's had so many contested catch situations, because he doesn't separate as well as most wide receivers will going in the second round. His production beyond 2024 is pretty limited, so there's not a wide and large database to look at of him being dominant on a football field. And then his long speed also isn't great. And that kind of goes with the not being an elite separator, right? A lot of times you can say, guys, just go run a go route. You're going to be able to outrun your quarterback. That's not the case with Jack Bech. He has to win his routes with head fakes, precision, and elite hands as well. My pro comp for him is Juwan Jennings. I think he's a little bit of a faster Juwan Jennings, but also both those guys play a very similar style of football where, like, they're incredibly dominant. They're incredibly tough. Takes a lot of guys to get them down. They never go down by just one. They're just absolute dogs right there on the football field. And Juwan Jennings had the best year of his career. 15 games played, 77 catches, 975 yards, found pay dirt 6 times. But also, Juwan Jennings was really only the wide receiver 1 on this team because Brandon Ayuk went down. And when Deebo Samuel was there as well, he's the wide receiver 2 usually. And so it gets me thinking, like, if this is his pro comp, in my opinion, if Bech's ceiling is wide receiver 2, then I don't necessarily love this selection in round 2, because he does need to be surrounded to succeed. That's one of the biggest reasons he succeeded at TCU this past year, is because people had to worry about guys like Savion Williams, right? Not just him in that wide receiver room. And this is just what we've been pounding the table for all offseason long. Give me a wideout. Give me a player that can separate himself, that can be that go-to guy. I kind of just see Jack Bech fitting in with what we already got, and now instead of 3 wide receiver 2s, we've got 4. My opinion doesn't necessarily solve the wide receiver problem. But here you go, the final Mel Kiper mock draft. Mykel Williams, Jack Bech. And I want you to do something for me. Grade this 2-round mock draft. Give me an A, B, C, D, or F in the comment section down below. Let me know your thoughts. I'm probably thinking somewhere around a B. I love the first round pick. Don't necessarily love Jack Bech in the second round. Before we go, I got one last thing to talk about, one last thing to say. It's something that Mel Kiper mentioned in this article. He said that other spots of interest would be wide receiver and cornerback, so expect Green Bay to take a look at guys like Emeka Egbuka or Maxwell Hairston too. I've talked about either of those guys, right? I talked about Emeka Egbuka yesterday. I talked about Maxwell Hairston on Saturday. Both those guys I feel like are great talents, but I think both of those guys are kind of finding themselves to be late first round talent because of the lack of talent in this year's draft. I don't necessarily love either of those guys as first-round selections. You could maybe convince me on either of them that they could probably pan out, and I'm not going to be too upset about it, but I'm not pounding my table for either of those guys to make their way to Green Bay in the first round. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button before you get on out of here, and we will see you tomorrow.